All right, I am here with Susan Marchese, a Nebraska Golf Hall of Fame golfer. Now, just to start, how have you been? How are things going?
Things are great. Finally, spring really kind of got here, but then it looks like we kind of jumped right into summer. I kind of like the 80-degree weather rather than the 95-degree weather. So I haven't played or practiced as much as I would have liked to right now, but we'll get it going. We'll get out on the golf course soon.
And now, just to reminisce a little bit, I mean, you come from such a successful golf family. Really talk about how influential that was to what golf meant for you and how you developed as an athlete.
That is exactly why I play the game, is because of my family. My mother was state and city golf champion. She was an only child, and her parents both played golf. They grew up at Field Club in Happy Hollow, and so she had a lot of golf exposed to her, which then she passed on to us, luckily. My dad did not play golf, and so when I was about 8 years old, he was learning to play. And so he would, we lived 3 blocks from here, or I grew up 3 blocks from here, and he would say, come on, let's go to the driving range. So I would go to the driving range all the time with my father. And I was in the junior golf program at Happy Hollow, and I grew up playing golf. My whole family played golf, so we always had someone to play with. And I think that's probably one of the best things about the sport, is you can always find someone to play with, and if not, you can go play by yourself. So, I mean, it's a well-rounded game that teaches you lifelong lessons.
And you mentioned Happy Hollows, and that's actually where we are right now. Does this place have just so much sentimental value to you?
It does. I was born and raised here. I became a member once I was off my parents' membership. I bought the house I grew up in from my father, so I am still 3 blocks from Happy Hollow. So to me, there's probably no other place I'd rather be than play golf, hang out, and give back to the sport that has given me so much.
And now, kind of again reminiscing on all of the achievements that you've had 19 championships over the course of all the amateurs and the match plays. And that all started in 1982 when you had your first championship. So how have you been able to remain not only so consistent but so successful?
Well, I think I am self-driven. I'm very competitive. Before I played golf, I was a swimmer, which I still swim from time to time. And I pushed myself. And I think if you want to be successful, it's what you put into it. So when you practice and you put the time into it, sometimes you achieve your goals and sometimes you don't, and then you just learn from your defeats. I also think in this time and age, a lot of the men play golf in junior golf and college golf, and they continue playing golf. We don't have that with the women. The women play high school golf, play college golf, then they get a job, they get married, they have kids, and they don't really play golf anymore. And then they might play, but they might play socially. They might play with their families, but they don't compete anymore. I work in a family business, Omaha Neon Sign Company, and I was fortunate enough to play golf and to continue playing golf and not take vacation time away, because I'm in sales and I'm 100% commission, so if I don't work, I don't get paid. But it works for me, and it doesn't seem to work for everyone. So that's probably the reason why I think I've been successful, is because I've chosen, to put time into it and to continue to play.
And do you think that's obtainable for other up-and-coming female golfers that want to kind of achieve what you've been able to achieve?
Oh, absolutely. I think anyone can really, if they put the time into it and they dedicate themselves and they continue to play and have fun at it and still enjoy it. I mean, there are some times when I'm out there playing and, the nerves kick in and whatnot, and you're thinking, really? Is this really this fun? This is why I do this? But there's still something that gets me excited to compete. And until that day comes and I don't like it anymore, or I don't want to work at it, I don't want to just enter tournaments to enter tournaments. If I play and I put the time into it, then I'll continue to compete.
And it's so special that you have that, self-driven nature about you. Is there something in particular that necessarily drives that, or is there something that is really the driving factor behind it?
I think really it's self-motivation. My parents were big supporters of me, my game, the practicing. There were times when I was over here many years ago, and my mother would come over. I was practicing with the tennis lights, chipping and putting around. The tennis lights were shining on the putting green, and I didn't want to go home. I mean, I was just obsessed with some of my practicing. I'm not like that anymore, but I'm sure any successful golfer has been obsessed with this game, because I think that's what it takes. And I think with women, I think you really need to work on your short game, because you don't hit a lot of the greens, or you don't hit the percentage that you should. So you need to have a short game. And I've practiced my short game for years.
And that actually leads me into my next question. I mean, you have such a specific way of playing, and it is that short game that you've been able to really capitalize on and become the player you are because of it. Just kind of dive more into that. What about that game gives you so much success? And not only that, how would you describe your game for, someone that lives under a rock and hasn't been able to see you?
Well, I don't think you've lived under a rock once, very often, because you come from California, but thank you very much. I think I worked on the short game because I needed to, and I like to, and it gives me the rhythm and the timing for the rest of my game. My driver is fairly straight, so I play out of the fairway a lot. My weakness is probably my irons, and I work on the short game now because I'm older and it's easier on my body. And that's where you're going to score. I've always thought that's where you're going to score, and that has always worked for me.
And throughout the course of the time that you've been involved in the game of golf and involved in championships, how have you seen, personally your body change, and what are some of the changes you've had to make in your game to adjust to how your body's, aging?
That's a really good question. I did not work out this last winter, and I can tell a big difference.
Really?
But now that the outdoor pool is open here at Happy Hollow, I swim in the mornings, and that again strengthens my core. And I think with yoga, with swimming, with weight training, the core is probably a really good, important part of the golf swing. And I had a strong core, but nobody really talked about it. I mean, Gary Player was so ahead of everybody with the workout regiment that I think you really need to stay in shape. And now I'm at the point where I need to get in shape. I've committed myself to try to qualify for the USGA Women's Senior, and that's being held down in Florida. I've got some friends who have a place down there who live on the golf course who have asked me to come stay with them, and I said, well, you understand I need to qualify for this. I don't just automatically get to go. So I've now committed myself that I need to get in shape and work out and work on my game, again, in order to play and compete where I want to be able to.
And moving further into your future plans with golf, especially this year, do you intend on competing in the amateur as well as the senior that you just mentioned?
I'm debating on stroke play, but I know that the application needs to be in. So if I just pull the trigger and enter, then that will make me go practice and play. So that's a really good question again. And I will play in match play. I'll play in the seniors. And I probably will go play in stroke play.
And now more of the fun questions. I mean, you've seen a lot of golf. You've competed against a lot of golfers. What are some of your not only top memories, but just your most memorable championships that you've been able to achieve?
The first tournament I played in, the first women's tournament I played in, I believe I was 12 or 13 years old. It was at Hillcrest Country Club. My sister, Debbie, and my mother, Betty, and I were all playing in the tournament, and we had early tea time, so we decided to go down and spend the night and have a nice dinner and sleep in, or not really sleep in, but so we didn't have to rush so much. Well, guess what? We overslept. We overslept, and we were running around in this hotel room, bumping into each other, pushing each other on the bed, seriously. And it was like a comedy scene that you would have seen on Saturday Night Live or Laurel and Harding or I Love Lucy or whatever, and it was hysterical. And I am getting out of the car, the parking lot in Hillcrest Country Club, and they are calling my name. Last call, Susan Marchese to the tee. 12, 13 years old, I had to hit balls before I played. I had never gone out and played without hitting balls. And I was a mess. I was crying, and I was running to the tee. And I went out and shot like 102, and I think I was in 7th or 8th flight. And I won 7th or 8th flight. So that was my first experience to the Nebraska Women's Golf Ladies Tournament. And to think that I'm still playing it says a lot, right?
That's insanity. That's always, it's usually the first one you have to get out of the way, and look at how you were able to overcome that. But and now moving on to some of the golfers that you played against, who are some of the most memorable people you've been able to share the game with?
My sister, Debbie Marchese Connery, she was my idol. She and Nanette Serco, my cousin. And I looked up to them. They were like 4 and 5 years older than me. And they played in the state tournaments, and they were runner-up, and they had won it. And Nanette was a big idol. And the thing that I really cherished was my idols were tangible. I mean, these are people that were here at Happy Hollow that I could see, that I could talk to, that I could admire. Not so much from afar, but a little bit from afar, because I was that much younger than them. But I could relate to them. They could relate to me, and they could talk to me and tell me what it took to be a winner. So that had always touched my life, and probably still to this day. And my mother was a big part of my life. She encouraged me in every aspect. And then you have players like Lucille Mann, Jean Hyland, Dorothy Schwarzkopf, even Christy Schwarzkopf, and some of the great players in our state I really looked up to and got to play with. And they touched my life along the way, which they probably never realized how much they did. Mm-hmm.
It seems like family is just such a huge factor for you, so that's so special that you were able to accomplish what you were able to because of, that family aspect. And I mean, on a lighter note, what are some of your favorite courses that you have? I mean, obviously Happy Hollow here has some special memories.
I really, really enjoyed Highland Country Club. Highland Country Club is no longer around. It's now Sterling Ridge, but I thought it was one of the greatest when it was of its prime, and the greens were at the speed that I think championship golf should be. I think that was one of the tougher courses around in the state. I have a lot of great courses that I like. I like Omaha Country Club, and of course there's national courses that I like, and some that I played and some I haven't played. But we're so lucky to play such a game that gives you a different shot, a different experience, a different day every time you play it.
Oh yeah, there's so many factors. It's insane. You can't really just base it all off of one, scope. So when you're talking about your favorite courses, what necessarily goes into that? Is it just the unique factors of each course, or is it, the beauty of it?
I think for me to say it's a favorite course is I look at it as a course I could play every day. There are some courses that I wouldn't want to play every day, but if there's a course out there that I think I would love to or cherish and be lucky enough to play every day, then to me that's a favorite course. Mm-hmm.
And again, kind of looking back at your career, and I mean, it's still an existing career, but what was your favorite, point at your life, whether it was your physical ability, whether it was just kind of the point you were at in your life that you were able to play golf?
I think one, and I don't know which state tournament, what year it was, but I was at Ironwood or Highland Country Club, and I was in the 18th fairway in a bunker. And I think I was even with Kathy Nelson going into the 18th hole match play finals. And my golf pro, John Frillman, was there, my mom, my dad, my brother, sister. And we had a nice little gallery. And I wasn't really sure how to hit this shot, but I could hear my golf pro tell me how to hit it. Choke up on your 7-iron, get all the ball, and knock it, close to the pin. Just hit a normal shot. Bury your feet in and get a good stance, follow through, and focus just on that shot. And I did, and I knocked it 4 feet from the pin. I knocked it in for birdie, and I won the match play. So to me, that's a shot that I really wasn't used to playing, but I was lucky enough in my lifetime to have a good golf pro, to have a good support team, and to have people that taught me course management. And I try to do that with some of the people that I play with and some of the ladies I play with. I tell them it's golf course management 101. When you're in trouble, take your medicine, punch out, get it back and play. You might be surprised. You probably make a better score than you thought you could. Another memory that I have was at Canoe Brook in Summit, New Jersey. I was at the U.S. Amateur. I was not experienced in national tournaments, so I was carrying my own bag. So I carried my clubs for 2 practice rounds, 2 qualifying rounds. I was the 64th qualifier, and I played the medalist, and I won. And I got down to the semifinals. I remember calling my parents from a payphone and telling them that I had beat the medalist, and I was going on to, I'm playing again tomorrow, and then you're playing double rounds, and it took a lot out of me. And I think that was a tournament that I possibly could have won, but I was stubborn and I carried my own bag, and I should have never done that. So my advice to people who want to go on to play in national tournaments, get a caddy, hire your father or your brother or someone to carry that bag for you, because it's what you need to do.
And how has every championship in terms of, match play in the amateur, how have they changed over time? How were they from when they started just to how it's, run, and your experience as opposed to, a couple years ago as opposed to now?
I think many years ago, the ladies did a really good job running the tournaments. I think there were a lot more women from all the different country clubs playing in the tournaments, that I think they loved taking 2-3 days away from the family, away from the husband, away from their everyday chores or even jobs, but to go play in them. And I don't think we have that anymore. Mm-hmm. We're missing that. It was really, really fun when I was little, growing up, going to tournaments with my sister, going to tournaments with my mom, and having fun. I mean, we had a lot of fun, and playing cards, playing board games, and I think we're missing a lot of that. And I think if we could go back somehow and even get people from Happy Hollow or any of the country clubs and not tell them it's a tournament, because these ladies sometimes don't like to play in tournaments, and tell them how much fun it is to go to these tournaments, but not tell them that way. Maybe we could get more people to enter our tournaments, because we're missing something. I don't know how to correct it. I don't know how to reach out and get them, but I think it needs to be built up back to possibly where it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you actually touched on my next question. It's just, where would you like to see it go? And I think involvement obviously is a huge part of that, and getting back that excitement that you used to have is probably a reason why you're still just, the standing one of the greatest. So, and yeah, I mean, any last things you want to touch on, anything that you're excited for moving forward, or something you're focusing on right now, whether it's just mentoring or enjoying yourself, enjoying life?
I'm just trying to enjoy what this game has given me, and still trying to figure out from time to time what I can do next to give back to the sport that has been really so good to me. I'm lucky, I'm fortunate, I thank the Lord that, I was born into the family that I was, because, not everybody is as lucky as I've been. And, I also think that everybody does what their family is involved in, whether it's soccer, golf, tennis, whatever the parents are involved in, that usually trickles down to what the kids are involved in. So the more the parents can get involved in this game, or the more adults can get involved, maybe the more the kids will get involved. Mm-hmm. We've got a golf program here that I think is outstanding. We have a number of kids that come out and take the lessons, but yet only a fourth of the kids play on Fridays. And I don't understand why they don't come and play on junior golf day. The social members' kids can play, the grandparents can bring their kids into play, and they all seem to come in for the lessons, but they don't actually show up for the junior golf play day. Mm-hmm. So I think there's something there we can work on and help grow the sport. And like I said, I think the kids have so many choices these days that we need to figure out if they can pick golf as one of their choices.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure a lot of people are behind you, and I'm sure there's, going to continue to be efforts to achieve what we all want. So I really appreciate it. It was an honor hearing all of your wonderful stories, and it's such an honor to be in your presence. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Of course. All right. That's it with Susan Marchese.